Hello, children. I hope you're taking very good care of yourselves. So, let's do the next lesson of UESST for grade 6 from book 1 Crisis of Late Middle Ages, the Great Famine, and the Black Death. So, here we have the learning objectives to explore the natural disasters that occurred during the late Middle Ages in Europe, to analyze the importance of cleanliness and sanitation for public health. UAE link: natural disasters like earthquakes have occurred in UAE too. The country is quite neat and clean. I think all the students should agree to this fact. Next is the CC link. It is linked with history, as the past events have been described in this text. So also it is linked with science, as you can find the reference of diseases and droughts in this lesson. Now let's see the warm-up exercise, children. They have asked us a few things and we have to give certain details of it, like volcano, then earthquake, droughts, floods. So you can go through this and you can see for yourself. We'll get some details over here. So let's begin with the lesson, children. Wars and battles for territory were not only the problem that Europeans were facing in the late Middle Ages, there were several other natural disasters that had occurred during this period, giving a terrible consequences. When I say natural disasters, that means it is not man made. It could be the volcanoes, it could be the earthquakes, it could be the floods, and so on. One of these disasters was the Great Famine of 1315 to 1317 CE. Europe was enjoying a relatively successful period of growth and prosperity for nearly 200 years. However, when there was a change in the climate, it resulted at certain disasters. Now, what were those climate changes? Let us see in the late Middle Ages. So, during the Middle Ages, temperatures across Europe were perfect for farming and raising of the cattle. That means that when we have farming activities going on, we need a warm kind of climate so that the crops can grow. Have you ever seen that in a snowbound region the crops are growing? That could only be when they have summers, they have got some crops growing, okay, but not in winters. So by the end of the 13th century, the weather was getting cooler and cooler. Summers were getting shorter, winters were getting longer and colder. So all this meant that would be a shortening of the growing season because there was more snow. Historians call this period as Little Ice Age. The Ice Age which we had thousands of years ago, and this Ice Age was not that long in span. And this led to worst famines in European history. Now the occurrence of floods. Famine is the time that is the drought, children, wherein there is no food available, no crops growing. Eventually, people have nothing to feed themselves. And then, slowly and steadily, how the floods had occurred. The spring of 1315 CE was hit by a very heavy rain across all of Europe, causing large floods, damaging the crops that were stored over winter. Now, this meant that the spring weather remained cooled and the crops could not grow, and the cattle also cannot be fed. When I say cattle, cattle is the domesticated animals which people keep for their benefit for their usefulness. This situation got even worse in summer as food prices they doubled and tripled. When we have scarcity of anything, children, that leads to the price rise. So the price of the commodities rose to double and triple. So you can understand what the situation might be over there. People are not able to fulfill their basic need of food. They are not able to fulfill their basic need of food, that is starvation. So people were starving, and some people were in such a state that they didn't mind killing their own children to feed themselves. That was the condition over there. Now they have given the example of France. Wheat became too expensive to use for baking of the breads, and many poor people had nothing to eat. The famine continued for 2 years with millions of people starving to death because of no food, hunger, they just starved to death. Some historians estimate that the Great Famine killed up to 25% of the population of Europe. It's a big figure, children. The figure is actually very big, 25% of the population getting wiped away. That is the quarter population of Europe getting wiped away because of the Great Famine. Then comes the another disaster, and that is the bubonic plague or the Black Death, in other words. So this was the next crisis which hit Europe, and which was this bubonic plague known as the Black Death. Now, how was this bubonic plague caused? First of all, it was caused because of the rats. Okay, so the rodents play a very important role in this. And when the fleas, that is the flies, when they come and they sit on it, and they then they go and they bite someone, so that bacteria comes in that person because the flies had been on the rodent which had this plague. So when that bacteria comes into contact with the person, obviously that person also gets that plague. And the worst thing is that, children, that this is a contagious disease. So it was getting transferred to one and the other person, and it kept on spreading. And especially in the crowded European cities where personal hygiene was very poor, being a crowded region, poor. So obviously they couldn't maintain personal hygiene. So the plague spread quickly, killing an estimated population of 200 millions in 4 years from 1347 to 1351, and all because of the climate change. So you can understand by this that climate plays such an important role in the lives of the people and in the lives of all the human and the living beings on this earth. Then later, the living standards also gradually started improving. Now, something good, every cloud has got a silver lining. So, after a particular period of time, say after 1351, slowly and steadily things started coming back to its place. Like there was an improvement in the wages, the prices of the goods, and the other commodities, the way they had inflated, now were coming back to their original prices. Comes activity one, children. So this is your textual activity wherein you have to just write true or false for the statements. I have written that for you. You can check this. Activity 2, they want you to give the details of it. So Great Famine, Black Death, all the details have been given over here. Then comes activity 3. It's a kind of a table, children. And in the table you have to fill that up. You can go through this table. Activity 3 still you can go through this. Activity 4, there is a question and you need to answer the question. You can go through the answer. You can check it. You can add some more points, children. Then comes activity 5. Here also they have asked you one question. Please go through the question from the textbook and see the answer over here. The plenary, I have put up a few questions. I hope you'll be able to answer this. And if you're able to answer this, that means you have understood the lesson well. Please read the lesson and then answer these questions. At the end of my lesson, children, thank you so much for watching my channel. If you have liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends so that even they can get benefit of this video. And please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. So meet you next time with my some new videos from book 2. Till then, take care. Have a nice day.